Come on in, come on in. There is a lot going on right now in this country that is disheartening. Um, it is, it's just sad, to be honest. Um, from the cutting back of the, well, removal of DEI, from federal funding being frozen and unfrozen, from a massive amount of executive orders, um, and now most recently the cutting back of Black History Month, Women's Month, any identity months. Um, it is, I kind of don't want to cry, but it's just like, feel like all the work marginalized groups have done, it's being repealed, altered, and erased. And it's not okay. It's not okay. Bullying other countries is not okay. There's, plans and processes and just human decency that needs to occur before extreme measures. It, I'm like kind of like at a loss for words. Kind of at a loss for words. It sucks. It really does suck.
Let me tell you something. I don't fuck with that bitch. Fuck that hoe. Let me tell you something. I don't fuck with that. Fuck that hoe.
Listen, I don't know why it's in my spirit to tell you this, but you need to prepare. Make sure you guys have a bag for yourself, for your kids. That was clothes, emergency supplies for yourself. Have your passports, IDs, social security cards. Know where all that stuff is. Okay? Just have it just in case, even with all the natural disasters that's happened, people leave things and, because they didn't prepare. So have it in place. Have it in place. Also, look into your state for how to obtain a legally, and if that means learning how to karate, any type of self-defense mechanism, learn that, get involved in that. Listen, I don't know why it's in my spirit to tell you guys this, but
I'm gonna listen to this guy I found that I really like, Adam Mockler.
I want to pose the question, how many countries did this for President Biden or for Secretary of State Blinken? None. None of our allies did this because he's a person who has a steady hand. But this reads, Panamanian police on Friday fired tear gas and clashed with protesters angered by Donald Trump's threat to take control of the Panama Canal ahead of a visit this weekend by the U.S.'s top diplomat, Marco Rubio. The demonstrators, who included university students and teachers, burned an effigy and photos of Trump, who accuses China of unfair influence over the Panama Canal. The protesters, quote, categorically reject the United States attempts to turn Panama into a protectorate and colony again, said teachers union leader Diogene Sanchez. Quote, we are going to fight to defend our national sovereignty, he added. Earlier, another group of protesters burned tires before they were dispersed by riot police. The unrest came on the eve of a visit by Rubio to the Central American nation, part of his first trip abroad in the post. Trump, in his inaugural address on January 20th, alleged that China was effectively operating the waterway, which the United States handed to Panama in 1999. You know, I'll leave it there. Later today, I want to do a live stream after Trump imposes his tariffs. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. So make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. This video is brought to you by Incogni. Alright, this story is wild. America's newest unelected bureaucrat, Elon Musk, is now taking aggressive steps to consolidate power, and he's the exact type of unelected bureaucrat that him, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Donald Trump have been railing against. They think there are people behind the scenes pulling the strings with politicians and trying to shut down civil servants. Well, that is exactly what Elon Musk did today, because Musk and his aides, who are now running the OPM, have locked career civil servants out of the federal employee data system, which prevents government officials from seeing their own workforce records. Again, Musk and his aides now have control of the Office of Personnel Management, and there are dangerous implications that we need to talk about. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you watch till the end to help boost this video. But really quickly, I want to run you guys through a thought experiment. Could you imagine if during the 2020 election, Joe Biden and George Soros, so that might be too on the nose. Let's say Joe Biden, Bill Gates were seen being buddy-buddy all the time. They were seen courtside at this game, cracking up. They went to multiple UFC events together. And then as the election ramps up, Bill Gates donates $200 million to Joe Biden. Bill Gates buys Facebook and then uses as a propaganda platform. And then after all is said and done, after Joe Biden wins the election, Bill Gates basically just moves in with him at his place. They're always together. They're always walking around together. They're always on the same page. And then Bill Gates gets an office right next to the White House where he has control over all these civil servants. Now, this may sound a little bit too on the nose, like no way that happened. This is exactly what is happening with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the exact boogeyman that right-wingers have been trying to draw for years, yet they are completely silent. So I want to talk to you guys about the implications of this administrative coup that Elon Musk is currently running. This Reuters article says, exclusive, Musk aides lock government workers out of the computer systems at U.S. agency, sources say.
Thank
and
you.
This one is wild. Aides to Elon Musk charged with running the U.S. government human resources agency have locked career civil servants out of computer systems that contain the personal data of millions of federal employees, according to two agency officials. Since taking office 11 days ago, President Donald Trump has embarked on a massive makeover, which has had a lot of consequences that you can either call unintended or intended. And I know I keep using these examples, but on Monday, when Trump in the middle of the night tried to pause federal grant funding, it had the consequences of stopping our Medicaid systems from working. Our Medicaid portals were not working. And then even a few days later, that plane crash that happened, you can draw the direct line between Trump gutting certain institutions to that happening. He is making our lives more dangerous because he's trying to rapidly consolidate power. So since taking office 11 days ago, Trump and Elon Musk have embarked on a massive government makeover, which means firing and sidelining hundreds of civil servants in his first steps towards downsizing the bureaucracy and installing more loyalists. Musk, the billionaire Tesla CEO and ex-owner, tasked by Trump to slash ties of the 2.2 million-strong civilian government workforce, moved swiftly to install allies at the agency known as the Office of Personnel Management. And before I continue, I made a video the other day where I go to a subreddit full of civil servants, full of federal workers, and they are now actively talking about this in that subreddit called Fed News. It says, OPM takeover. Employers locked out of OPM employees locked out of employee databases, and Elon's couch surfing college are now controlling it. This is so bad. Why are there no Congress people even talking about this? And it's because it just happened like 30 minutes ago. I'm sure the Democrats will get on message. But one thing we are bad at is responding in a rapid way. So when something happens, like the other day, when Trump paused all federal grant funding, Democrats said, we're going to have an emergency meeting about this. But tomorrow or Wednesday, we're going to do an emergency meeting sometime this week. And come on, y'all, get on this ASAP. Well, let's read some of the comments. Someone said, this is very scary. These are civilian employees of Musk. None have security clearances. All of this could end up in Russia or China. They could cherry pick anyone they want to recruit sources. This should be a lead story on every media outlet. The implications are dangerous, but let's go back to this story. Two officials who spoke to Reuters on the condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation said some senior career employees have had their access revoked to some of the department's data systems. The systems include vast databases called the Enterprise Human Resources Integration, which contains dates of birth, social security numbers, appraisals, home addresses, pay grades, and length of service of government workers, the officials said. And we know that Elon Musk has no problem putting civil servants on blast. About a month ago, he made this post of somebody who worked in something called the Environmental Diversity Commission, something like that. And the whole commission is about biodiversity, supporting ecosystems with a diverse amount of life, a diverse amount of resources so that they could be sustainable. But Elon Musk saw the word diversity and took a screenshot and posted it on his Twitter to his over 200 million followers. And then the woman who was in this role, just a normal civil servant, then gets threats because Elon Musk has no problem putting these people on blast. And I'm not saying he's going to do this here. I'm just saying it's quite scary to see all of these people locked out of their own personal data. Quote, we have no visibility into what they are doing with the computer and data systems, one of the officials said. That is creating great concern. There is no oversight. It creates real cybersecurity and hacking implications. Officials affected by the move can still log on and access functions such as the email, but can no longer see the massive data sets that cover every facet of the federal workforce. And just listen to this part. A team, including current and former employees of Musk, assumed command of OPM on January 20th, the day Trump took office. They have moved a sofa bed onto the 5th floor of the agency's headquarters, which contains the director's office and can be accessed with a security badge or a security escort. Musk also installed beds at X for employees to enable them to work longer when in 2022 he took over social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Quote, it feels like a hostile takeover, the employee said. And remember, Musk is the one who wants to increase the amount of H-1B visa workers who can work in the U.S., which is fine. We need top-tier talent and engineers from other countries, but he also wants to eliminate the deportation, stop homegrown engineers from being able to realize their full potential. So it kind of shows that he just wants to overwork everybody. I mean, he installed beds, both X, and then he also installed sofa beds for civil servants. This is something that like a setup does. Like when my editor comes to visit, we put sofas around so that we can all work around the clock. YouTube channel, you don't do that with the federal government. There are higher stakes there. But I want to read to you guys another article that describes how Musk and allies have reportedly seized the key HR office and skipped past officials to send mass resignation emails. Now, you guys all heard about the emails that went out to a bunch of workers, but apparently the HR-type agency, the Office of Personnel Management, was blindsided by the memo. They had no clue it was coming, so this is a hostile takeover. The moves by Musk's aides at OPM and upheaval inside the Treasury building caused by Musk's aides that was reported on Friday underscore the sweeping influence Musk is having across government. And again, it's quite terrifying because Musk is an unelected bureaucrat. This should alarm anybody. The federal workforce is not supposed to be a personal playground for billionaires to shape in their own image. It exists to serve the American people, not the political or financial or corporate interests of Elon Musk and Trump and these other people. It exists to serve the American people, and yet Musk's team has already made it clear. Their mission is not just to cut out bureaucracy, but to purge those who don't align with Trump's mission. And remember, Trump's vision is not America first. So I'll leave it at that. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. All right, and really quickly, let's talk about something that we all take for granted, and that's our personal data. Every time you sign up for a website, every time you download or fill out an online form, your information doesn't just stay there. It's shared, and it's traded by companies you've probably never even heard of. I'm talking about your name, your email, your phone number, even your home address. It's all out there being passed around freely, and if that doesn't make you uncomfortable, it should. Thankfully, there's Incogni, a service that fights back. They take your personal data off the market by dealing with these data brokers directly on your behalf. It's quick, simple. Honestly, it's been a game changer for me. 5 times a day, I would get a call from a number that seems like it's from my hometown. It's like a spoof number, but then I answer and there's just nobody on the other line, or they're like, hey, it's just some scam phone call to immediately hang up on. But after I signed up for Incogni, I get maybe one of these a week. It's gone down tenfold the amount of calls that I get. Also, someone randomly started signing me up for these MAGA right-wing newsletters. I don't even know who did it. I don't know how they got my email. I got all of these right-wing newsletters in my email, and you guys know me. I didn't sign up for that. So Incogni helped me with that as well. So I've had some pretty eye-opening experiences when it comes to data privacy, and it's because of Incogni fighting on my behalf. If you have ever had any access similar to mine, it's time to check out Incogni. Don't wait to take control of your data. Do it now. Head to incogni.com/Mockler and use code Mockler to get 60% off the annual plan. Again, that's incogni.com/Mockler if you want to protect your privacy today. Don't forget to use the code Mockler for 60% off. Visit incogni.com/Mockler, because here's the bottom line. Your data is your data. You don't have to worry about who's buying it, who's selling it, or trading it without your consent. So by going to incogni.com/Mockler and using code Mockler, you get to protect your privacy for a discount. I love you guys. Go take your personal data back. Have a great rest of your day.
Have y'all seen the Civil War taking place? Alright.
What? I want to listen to. There's this one guy.
What you crying for, MAGA? What happened?
I just saw this white on here complaining that she just lost her job because she was hired under the diversity, equity, and inclusion program at her work.
Hey, shout out to all of our subscribers and members here on the channel. This is Who Raised Y'all, where we highlight those unique individuals going above and beyond to make our society worse.
Attention deficit problem in this country. You know, attention deficit, when you and I were growing up, our parents didn't use a drug, they used a belt to whip our butt, and told us to sit down.
You know, the kinds of people you'll see asking to speak to manager at the pearly gates.
I don't give two shits that family being separated, if somebody's getting deported. I actually find it hilarious. It gives me a great deal of comfort. I have no sympathy that your child might be up without a father because he got sent back to Mexico or whatever.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
go with them. Don't forget that's an option. That's a choice that you're making,
Wow.
right? I don't have any sympathy for your little videos that you're making on social media, all the tears. I don't give a shit. I'm actually fucking laughing at you. Sitting there crying for attention. Okay. I find you guys to be subhumans. All right. Now, while you're sitting there judging me because I don't care that families are going to be separated from each other, I'd invite you to recall that hundreds of J6ers were separated from their families for something that equates to little more than a trespassing charge. Where were you then? Okay, bye.
Huh? What's wrong, MAGA? Oh, you thought it was just a war against black and brown people?
Oh, this is hilarious. I just saw this white lady on here complaining that she just lost her job because she was hired under the diversity, equity, and inclusion program at her work. And you can see she didn't want to say it, But she wanted to be like, but I'm not black. But that's not what diversity, equity, inclusion meant. The number one recipient of DEI hires is white women. The number one people who have benefited the most from this whole affirmative action and DEI hired has been white women, 100%. And now all these white women who voted for Donald Trump are going to find out that DEI included them. And I'm sorry, but this is one of the best fuck around and find out moments yet. Because these women are the ones who deserve to be fired. I'm sorry. Like, if you voted for Donald Trump and you get fired because you were a DEI hire, don't come looking to me for sympathy.
I do find it quite interesting that it's for Donald Trump to be president for a second term for people, especially white men, to understand that DEI never meant black. Literally was a program that means diversity, equity, inclusion. That's what DEI means. And the people who benefited the most off of DEI initiative, black people, they were white women, Asians, at some means Latinx community, and the queer community at times. But usually if you're white and queer, not if you're of color and queer. And when I got into working with DEI programs at my last organization, I did it because I saw the numbers and I saw that people who look like me, especially black women, were benefiting the least from these programs. And newsflash, every opportunity that I ever got, I didn't get it because I was black. I got it because I was better than the other candidate and I had merit. I'm an educated black woman. Good luck, you guys.
Applying to all these different jobs and programs and schools throughout my life, I've always gotten into everything I've applied for. And, well, if DEI is really a problem, then why hasn't it stopped me from being able to attain the goals that I've set forth for myself? Perhaps those of you who blame DEI for your problems, it's really just something within yourself. Maybe you don't have the merit that you need for something, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're the lowest of the low or nothing like that. You can get better, but you can't get better if you just keep blaming other people, which kind of seems like what they're trying to get us to do, huh? If you have better thoughts about it than me, let me know, though. And speaking of DEI hires, it's kind of interesting that the new SecDef was only a major in the reserves, doesn't have a lot of knowledge about the things you would think a SecDef should have knowledge for, and yet he was hired for the job. And I don't know about you, but with all these other generals who exist in the world, there'd be at least a few people, a handful, that have a little bit more merit behind themselves for that job, don't you think?
The signs have been there for years. I don't see why this would be a revelation to y'all. What Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and Mark Zuckerberg did it for you? Oh no, we all gonna feel this.
When we were working in my former agency on DEI, you know what we focused on, Joy? Is we focused on internship opportunities instead of just from people in four-year schools, people who go to community colleges or trade schools. We wanted to open those opportunities for them. That was one of DEI policies. And you know what else we did, Joy? We wanted to make sure that those interns got paid. I don't know about you, but when I was going to college or law school, I was washing dishes, I was mowing lawns in the summers. I couldn't afford one of those fancy unpaid internships.
Same.
Well, that's a barrier to folks, right? To folks like all over the country, not just people of color, although certainly people of color, but people that live in small towns or rural communities. Those were the types of policies we were advancing.
Right, and I think that people on the right have decided DEI just means black people having jobs. So a black people has job, black person is DEI. That's what they've decided. But DEI really is, as you said, it isn't a quota for hiring lots of black people. It is recruitment. It's saying, let's also go to HBCU. Maybe those students might want some of the things Harvard kids get. You know, just the recruitment. I mean, these people are veterans who fought in the Iraq War. It's difficult for them to find employment. Hey, let's recruit among them and see if they might want these jobs, right? DEI is not a quota of black people. It's getting diverse groups of people of all races in our country.
You're absolutely right. There are long-time laws on the books regarding the civil service that have prohibited affirmative action quotas. So we've never had that in the government. But what you do have to do, like you said, is look at who you're recruiting, what those applicant pools look like. You want to make sure that you have America represented in those applicant pools, so they at least then stand a shot to go through and show that they're qualified. Because let me tell you, Joy, the people that get through that federal job application process, get hired, they're qualified for those jobs.
One of the lesser known, most common recipients of DEI is white Republicans. Before you get your panties in a twist, let me explain. As I'm sure you know, the majority of rural Americans vote Republican. And I can tell you this with certainty right now, the biggest state schools in whatever state you reside in have initiatives that give priority to rural students. The vast majority of students that benefit from those initiatives are white. You don't have to sign up for these programs. It's based off of your address, county that you live in. Students that are from these counties are also likely receiving a lot more financially than the average student. If you live in a state that has Appalachian counties, just go ahead and double that. This doesn't apply to undergraduate institutions. A lot of medical schools do this as well. There's a huge for people to practice rural medicine, and if you come from a rural county, you're more likely to stay in the area and practice medicine. So they give huge priority to students that are from counties. And again, if you're in a state that has Appalachian counties, they're prioritizing that too. The unfortunate reality is that most of these students don't even realize that they are the benefactors of DEI. And so when new students come to apply that come from these rural and or Appalachian counties, they're not going to get to benefit from those same initiatives. And it'll be too late. A lot of you seem to think that DEI is just for minorities and didn't realize you were also a minority as well.
And unfortunately, even those who saw all of this and tried to stand in the way of it are going to feel it too. That's what y'all did, MAGA. That's why we look at you like you got us out here suffering because of your ignorance. Now you know how we felt when y'all were out here celebrating the demise of DEI.
Is there anyone out there who can give me one benefit of the DEI movement?
I got you, and you can fact check me on this.
One benefit?
Therapy for veterans, so there's one for you.
One benefit of
Mother's rooms, so when you're a fresh mother and you have to pump your breast for your children.
give me one benefit?
A caregiver, so when a family member's about to pass away and your company says go home, we'll pay you while you see them away.
Give me one benefit of
Paternity leave, so when you're an expectant, you can actually spend time with your newborn.
can give me one benefit.
Disabled, accessible places and spaces, so think like elevators, wheelchair ramps, handy stalls in a bathroom, even ergonomic like displays and setups for somebody who might not be able to do day-to-day activities. I have a friend who lost most of the use to hands and his job requires him to type. So there's a screen program that clocks his eyes and goes to where he needs. So there's an example.
Diversity and inclusion is racist.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna make you more mad, MAGA. I'm gonna make you more mad. How about this one?
When you don't have the best standards in who you're hiring, it means on the one hand, you're not getting the best people in government, but on the other hand, it puts stresses on the people who are already there. We want to hire the best people because we want the best people at air traffic control, and we want to make sure we have enough people at air traffic control who are actually competent to do the job. If you go back to some of the headlines over the past 10 years, you have many hundreds of people suing the government because they would like to be air traffic controllers, but they were turned away because of the color of their skin. That policy ends under Donald Trump's leadership because safety is the first priority of our aviation industry.
So like JD Vance, I am a former Marine who used their GI Bill to end Yale University. Here's my degree right there. And like JD Vance, who attended Yale Law School, I was there at the same time as him, actually sat on the board of the Yale Veterans Association, which is an alumni association, and we both were able to be recipients of my efforts at Yale University. At the time that I was a student, there were only 5 veterans in my entire program. There are currently 25 in the Divinity School program now. In the undergraduate program, there are about 8 veterans. In the Eli Whitney program, there are currently about 15. Now, the law school where J.D. Vance was a student, he was one of about 6 students at the time at the law school. Currently, I'm pretty sure their numbers are in the 20s or the 30s when it comes to veterans. So these efforts to increase and push diversity, equity, and inclusion is something that benefited J.D. Vance. And he is now turning around and he's pulling the ladder up, so that people like him who grew up in poor Appalachia, who joined the Marines, who were able to the GI Bill, are no longer able to follow in his footsteps because he wants to remove the same DEI programs that got him to where he is today.
What you crying for, MAGA? What happened? What happened? Let it out.
We tried to tell you. Cue the music.
I never thought the leopards would eat my face. No, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Well, I turned my back on my own kind, but I somehow thought that I'd be fine. Oh, Many were surprised when they found out or realized that veterans fall under DEI. But let me share with you all the other categories that fall under DEI that are no longer protected. All right, the first category, neurodiversity. This category covered or protected individuals with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, or other neurological conditions. Socioeconomic status, essentially community members from low-income areas. The one we've spoken about was veterans. That one also is in that, falls under that, as well as active duty military spouses. Yes, my dependents, you fall under a category, and you are no longer protected by the DEI. Parental and caregiver inclusion, which means that they do not give a shit about you having to go take care of your child. No more flexible working schedule, no more nothing. Age diversity, they are going to be able to discriminate you if you're too young or if you're too old. Religious and spiritual practices. Oh, you gotta go pray? You're fired. You're no longer protected. Oh, it's a holiday for you? Don't care. You need to show up to work. None of this is protected anymore. Language. How many of us speak a different language and usually find a coworker that speaks it too, and you're over there just chatting away? Yeah, you're no longer protected. And lastly, body diversity. You can now be discriminated by the size of your body, by what you look like.
You thought you could be J.D. Vance or Donald Trump someday? You thought you thought they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. Is that what you thought? Oh, the Trump inheritance wasn't a giveaway for you? Oh, they told it was just us, huh? Well, so I hope you don't believe everything you hear.
I had over $10,000 in food stamp. So I told my husband, and he says to me as I'm crying, well, maybe you'll lose some weight now. Why did I vote for him?
Actually, bump that, MAGA. You don't believe hardly nothing you hear, but so you decided magically to believe that.
This post reads, veterans know they were DEI hires because everyone thinks DEI means black. And this is the same thing that happened with affirmative action, because white women benefited the most from affirmative action, but got mad because they thought that people of color, black people, were getting admitted to college in place of them and didn't deserve to be. And that the propaganda around affirmative action and diversity, equity, inclusion has worked this way because of racism. And at a certain point, you have to realize that a lot of these people are grown adults who have the ability to look stuff up. Most of these veterans who do vote, most of these people getting into colleges who do vote, have the ability to look up what these actually are instead of listening to a charismatic man on a stage tell them what it means. And again, the reason that the propaganda works is because of the racism.
And if you thought we were mad before, imagine having to deal with everything that we deal with in general society. You understand that, MAGA, because you know how you behave. So imagine being the object of your behavior.
Oh, independent black woman, I don't need no man, and I'm going to get Whitey. And I'm going to lock Donald Trump up, just like Letitia James, right? And she goes, now, you're going to elect me, and I'm going to lock him up. We're going to get Trump. Like, the way they talk and their little DEI Shaniqua voices, they all have the same voice. I'm talking about Kamala Harris, Letitia James, and Fannie Willis. Like, meritless DEI Shaniquas talk the same way. It's very obnoxious the way that they talk.
If you don't get your fucking botched nose job right now, sure bigger than the other, herpes mouth lip because it's kind of red in the corner, sideburn thicker than mine, double chin, dirty neck crease, disproportionate bad bill mentions, buck tooth, leave it to Beaver, Squidward when he got that chiseled ass jaw, SpongeBob looking ass the fuck up out of here.
And having it framed as being something that we need, having the label tossed on anybody black or female or LGBTQ or disabled, whatever the case may be, who happens to have a position of any esteem, only for y'all to be recipients. How you like them apples? America.
So DEI is about that and about providing for workers. It's not about the color of a person's skin.
And it's not a quota program. Let's just be clear. It means that, not, and it also, I think, for a lot of conservatives, they believe DEI just means black people getting jobs. And so when they see a black person in any job, they say, oh, that person's a DEIer. They said it about the literal elected vice president of the United States.
Absolutely.
She wasn't hired. She was hired by the American people. 80 million Americans voted for her, but they can't see through her race and gender. So it's not just about hiring black people and women, right? It's about disabled veterans being accommodated. It's